Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And based off a new job advertisement, PlayStation might have a big sequel in development for the PlayStation 5. And fans are absolutely going to love this if it turns out to be true. So we're going to talk about that today. Also, we got some new Xbox Series X gameplay for an upcoming Xbox console exclusive, and we're starting to see a trend with the performance for next generation consoles, so stay tuned for that as well. First though, I do want to give an update on yesterday's episode of News Dose. We did talk about Gears 5 getting a big upgrade on the Xbox Series X, and there are some pictures being passed around the community that compares the Series X with the Xbox One X and the RTX 3090 version of Gears 5. Well, it turns out those pictures weren't necessarily accurate, or at least the Xbox Series X version was being pulled from a PC reshade mod. So today, I decided to go take some pictures myself and take a look at a direct comparison of the Xbox Series X and the Xbox One X version, and the Series X version is still pretty insane. You can clearly see how much better the lighting and reflections are in the Series X version, especially in the pictures where Marcus Phoenix is walking away. It really does look phenomenal and like a next generation experience. If you do want to see some gameplay of Gears 5 on the Series X though, I'll have a link in the description below. With that said, 2K Games posted an apology for unskippable ads in NBA 2K21, and this is what they had to say. As many are aware, in recent years ads have been integrated into 2K TV segments. Yesterday's 2K TV ad placement impacted our players' experience in a way we didn't intend, as these ads are not meant to run as part of the pre-game introduction. This will be fixed in future episodes. Thanks for your continued feedback. So there you have it. Apparently this was just an accident, though some of the community are definitely questioning the authenticity of this statement. It does sound a little odd that they just accidentally added these ads in at the wrong time. EA did something very similar with in-game ads for UFC 4, and they also ended up making a public apology shortly after as well. The game community just doesn't like this type of stuff, and considering these are big AAA games that cost $60+, I mean, I can understand that. And really, this takes me back to what we talked about on the channel just a few months ago. According to the Wall Street Journal, marketers were going to experiment with adding TV ads to video games. And both of these situations with EA and 2K Games could have been small experiments. They obviously didn't work out too well if that is the case, but we'll see what happens going forward. Now also, one big narrative heading into next generation is the consolidation of game developers. Over the last couple years, a lot of talent has been scooped up by some of these bigger publishers. Of course, Microsoft has been making a lot of acquisitions, but you also have Google, Amazon, Facebook, Sony, and THQ Nordic looking for more studios as well. But it looks like we got another publisher throwing their hat into the ring as Devolver Digital acquired Crow Team. Yeah, this is a nice pickup too. Crow Team developed the Talos Principle, and that's one of my favorite puzzle games ever made. Really, the only puzzle games that I consider to be better is the Portal franchise, and I'm not sure any game is going to top those anytime soon. Nonetheless, the Talos Principle is a phenomenal game, and now Devolver Digital has that talent, which I find interesting. They have been working together for a long time on games like Serious Sam 4 and the Talos Principle, but Devolver Digital making an acquisition is kind of surprising. Maybe all that Fall Guys money is coming to use, as that game just absolutely exploded here recently, and they could be looking to expand as we head into next generation. Really, my question now is, will they acquire anybody else? And if they do, I'm personally okay with that. They're a pretty good publisher. They could offer some nice security for some of these smaller to mid-sized studios, and they could be an up-and-coming big player for next generation. I will say this, I'm ready to see the Talos Principle 2, and if you haven't played the first game, I would highly recommend it, especially if you like games like Portal. Also, we got some more Xbox Series X gameplay today. GameSpot posted a 13-minute long video of the upcoming console exclusive, Scorn. Yes, this will be available on PC as well, but I have to say, this is a very unsettling game. I've been interested in this game for a while now because I think the art style is really interesting, as it reminds me a lot of the Alien franchise. It's obvious that they were inspired by H.R. Geiger's work, and they turned the dial up to 10 in Scorn, as everywhere you look, it's grotesque, it's unsettling, but at the same time, it oddly piques your interest. It's strange but alluring, so I was really excited to see some of the gameplay today. The graphics do look good with not just the art style, but from a technical standpoint too. You can see how the fog and the lighting adds a lot of atmosphere to Scorn, and I think by far this is one of the most atmospheric games I've seen in a very long time. I don't usually get to say that about games, but there are some games that just completely absorb you into their world, and Scorn looks like it's going to be one of those games. Now with that said, I don't think Scorn's going to be for everybody. From what they showed today, it looks a lot like a Metroidvania style game where you have to unlock new abilities or weapons to access new locations, and it's a little slower paced than what some may like. I'm personally okay with that because I don't think you always need an action-packed game, and I think one of the main focus points of this game is in how mysterious the world is. What's going on here? Why are these monsters lurking the halls, and what do they do? You're going to want to explore and figure out some of these questions. Now, right at the end of the video, you can actually see how it can be a little bit more spooky as the music starts to ramp up and several of these little weird monsters start to come towards you, so I'm curious as to if this game does start to speed up a little more as time goes on. I do imagine you're going to see a lot more monsters throughout this game, so it's not necessarily going to be slow-paced for the entire game. Again though, I can definitely see this game being a little more niche, but either way, this is going to be an Xbox Game Pass game, I believe, so even if you're slightly interested in this one, you can definitely check it out through Xbox Game Pass. Let me know though, did you like what you saw from Scorn today running on the Xbox Series X? And while we're on the topic of next-generation games, let's talk about Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. Now, we've known for a while this Special Edition was being planned for next-generation consoles, but there was that question as to how would it run, and Capcom did not disappoint. According to W. Bacon from Capcom USA on Resetera, which has been verified, says they're offering several different options. And I think so far this game is offering more options than any other next-generation game. So check this out. Devil May Cry 5 will allow you to run at 4K resolution with ray tracing on at 30 frames per second, or you can also do 1080p 60 frames per second with ray tracing. If you don't care about ray tracing though, and all you want is that buttery smooth frame rate, you can also turn ray tracing off for 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, or instead, you can go all the way up to 120 frames per second, though no resolution has been confirmed for that option just yet. With that said, they're offering a lot of different options here, and this is exactly what I want to see for games that do this. I know a lot of people are kind of buying into 4K resolution right now, but 1080p 60 frames per second with ray tracing might be a sneaky good choice here. This is something that I think should be in every game, to be honest, if they do have different options. Because one trend we're starting to run across is that both the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 is having to offer performance modes in several games where you either choose ray tracing or frame rate. I keep repeating this, but it's important to keep in mind. Ray tracing is incredibly demanding, and that's exactly why we're seeing so many games offer performance modes, and it's starting to look like this could be a normal thing going forward. Now, there is a chance that developers learn to optimize games better over time to get all three, 4K resolution, 60 frames, and ray tracing at the same time, but at the very least, we're seeing early in the generation that developers are having to offer performance mode. That's why I like the idea of having 1080p, 60 frames, and ray tracing. It's kind of the best of both worlds. I would like to see it at least be 1440p, and I think that would be the sweet spot, but this is still okay in my opinion. What option would you pick though? And also, are you okay with these performance modes? I know it may be disappointing to some, but having all three at the same time is starting to look like it will be a little difficult. So let me know your thoughts. Let's move on to some of the PlayStation stuff now, because one question that I've continuously seen pop up online is it better to display your PlayStation 5 in the vertical position or the horizontal? Now, I think that the reason as to why this question is asked so much is because the way it's designed. They have that round base at the bottom, and it almost seems like they're nudging you in the direction of that vertical position. So does that possibly mean it's better for airflow and keeping your PlayStation 5 cool? Well, that's actually not the case at all, as PlayStation's Yasuhiro Otori revealed that from a designer standpoint, there is no difference in cooling performance between vertical and horizontal installation. Now, he's apparently the vice president of the Sony Entertainment Mechanical Design Department, so yeah, he probably knows what he's talking about. I know there is some debate on this topic, but from the sounds of it, there really is no difference. That's good news, and really now you just need to find a place to put it. I'm not gonna lie, that could be a struggle for some people, especially for fans buying both the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. They're pretty large machines this generation, though that is understandable considering the significant boost in power. Let me know though, how do you plan on sitting your PlayStation 5? Are you going to go with horizontal or vertical? Moving on though, this last topic is pretty exciting, especially if you like the PlayStation 4 exclusive Ghost of Tsushima. According to a job advertisement posted by Sucker Punch, they are looking for a narrative writer that desires to write stories set in feudal Japan and knowledge of feudal Japanese history. Yeah, that's pretty specific, and it sounds eerily similar to Ghost of Tsushima. So could that mean that Sucker Punch is already planning to make a sequel for Ghost of Tsushima? I mean, that game was insanely successful and it sold 2.4 million copies in just 3 days alone, which is actually crazy for a new IP. That doesn't happen a lot for a new IP, and fans really seem to have loved that game. They could easily make a sequel for Ghost of Tsushima, and if you look at Sucker Punch's history, they do tend to make sequels for their games. You had the Sly Cooper trilogy, then the infamous franchise was born, and I could imagine them doing something similar with Ghost of Tsushima. Now, there is no guarantee on that, and this is just speculation. This could just end up being some kind of DLC, expansion, or more content for their new multiplayer mode. So you do need to keep that in mind, but based off this job ad, I think we can assume they're not finished with Ghost of Tsushima. They definitely seem to be planning something, and I think that's very exciting. Really, the question now is if it's a sequel, an expansion, or even a standalone spin-off like Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, if it really is a sequel, it's probably a good 3 to 5 years from releasing, but even then, this is a huge game, and something to be very excited for on the PlayStation 5. That PlayStation 5 first-party lineup is really starting to take shape though. It looks like God of War, Horizon, and Ghost could all be in the pipeline, and those should have fans very happy. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.